the Hollywood Unapologetic Podcast with Orlando Delbert, Filmmaking Essentials.
We're looking today at Hollywood on-location production. It seems to be facing a really significant downturn.
Yeah, the reports are everywhere. It's hitting everyone, actors, writers, but also the support businesses, equipment rentals, that kind of thing.
Hearing stories from people in the industry, lots of folks out of work for a long time.
Exactly. It's not just talk. There's data, personal accounts. It's a clear decline. So our mission today is really to unpack the multiple reasons behind this.
And the impact, right? Because it seems far-reaching.
Definitely. We're drawing from quite a few sources to get a handle on it.
So what are the main things we need to dig into? What are these factors?
Okay, so there are several layers. First, you've got the big disruption from the strikes of the Writers Guild, SAG-AFTRA. That's huge.
Right.
Then there's the shadow of the pandemic still lingering. Plus, the pull of tax incentives, other states, other countries offering better deals.
The runaway production issue.
Precisely. And then there's the talk about President Trump's proposed tariffs on foreign films, another layer of uncertainty.
Okay, and California is trying to fight back with the tax credit.
Yeah, we need to look at California's proposed tax credit update as a possible solution, or at least a countermeasure. And finally, the big one, AI. Its role, especially for the new generation trying to break in.
Okay, so it's not just one smoking gun. It's like a perfect storm.
Exactly. That's the key takeaway. These things are all connected, tangled together, and they're really reshaping how and where movies and TV get made.
Let's start with the strikes then. They felt massive at the time.
Well, they were. The Writers Guild strike back in spring 2023, a lot of that centered on protection from generative AI.
AI that can write scripts, basically.
Yeah, or at least generate text that writers might then have to edit. Big concerns about job security, writers becoming, just AI polishers.
So what happened there? Did they get protections?
They did. The WGA contract they secured actually gives writers control over how AI is used, ensures they get credit, get paid if it is used. It was a big deal.
That feels like a blueprint, maybe, for other industries dealing with AI.
Absolutely. It showed the value of tackling it head on, getting safeguards in place. Then, of course, the SAG-AFTRA strike kicked in right after, during, and just prolonged the production shutdown.
So the two together just stopped everything.
Pretty much. We saw people online, like on Reddit, describing it as just nada, nothing. Absolute zero activity for months.
That must have been brutal financially for so many people.
Immensely. And then, even when the strikes ended, you had this huge backlog of people desperate for work flooding the market. So intense competition for fewer jobs.
A really tough situation. Okay, and then the pandemic. We all remember the initial shutdowns, but you're saying there are longer-term effects.
Yeah, obviously, COVID stopped production in its tracks initially with all the restrictions. But even as things ramped back up, the pandemic might have sort of accelerated shifts already happening.
It's like streaming.
Exactly. More people got used to watching everything at home. That maybe changes how studios think about investing in big theatrical releases versus streaming content. It affects production models, spending.
That makes sense. And costs are up everywhere too, right? Inflation.
Right. Inflation, partly tied to the pandemic economic response, means everything costs more. Cost of living is up. And that probably puts pressure on production budgets too. Makes finding savings more important.
Which loops back to those tax incentives you mentioned. Moving productions to save money.
Precisely. It's a huge factor. So many other places, states in the U.S., countries around the world are offering these really juicy financial packages. Tax credits, rebates, grants.
Like Georgia, you always hear about Georgia. Or Canada, the UK.
Yeah, Australia, Georgia, Ireland, New Jersey, the UK. The list goes on. They've made themselves much more attractive financially than Hollywood. And you see it, their production sectors have grown significantly because of these incentives.
So they can really slash the bottom line for a production.
Oh, definitely. They can cut the net cost of production by a large margin. And when these programs are structured well, they can really drive long-term industry growth in those regions.
But does it always work out for the states or countries offering them? I feel like I've read studies suggesting it's, mixed.
That's a fair point. Research does show mixed results in the U.S. Like one study found incentives are pretty good at attracting TV series, especially if the state already has some film industry infrastructure.
Okay.
But less impact on feature films or on overall employment and wages in related sectors. So yeah, they attract some activity, but the wider economic boom isn't always guaranteed.
Right. So it's not a magic bullet for economic development everywhere. What's California doing then? You mentioned Govenor Newsom's proposal.
Yeah, California is definitely feeling the pressure. They've proposed this updated film and television tax credit, version 4.0. The idea is to boost the total amount of money available each year, trying to keep productions here and attract new ones.
How does it try to do that specifically?
Well, one key part is specific credits for building new sound stages or renovating old ones. It kind of creates a separate path to qualify for credits tied to investing in infrastructure.
Ah, so encouraging building the facilities in California.
Exactly. Make it a more attractive place to set up shop long term. It also offers extra bumps for filming outside the LA zone, trying to spread the work around the state, and for doing things like visual effects or music scoring in California.
There was something about it being refundable. What does that mean?
That's a big change, yeah. Refundable means even if the production company doesn't owe any California income or sales tax, they can still get the credit amount back as a cash refund.
Okay. That sounds like it could make a real difference, especially for maybe smaller or independent productions.
Potentially, yes. It removes a barrier. And you also have groups like Stay in LA really pushing for these stronger incentives.
Right. What's their main argument?
They emphasize that, behind the Hollywood glamour, it's mostly regular working class people, crew members, technicians, caterers, drivers. Their livelihoods depend on these jobs staying in California. Losing productions hits families hard.
It's a good reminder. It's easy to forget the sheer number of people involved beyond the big names. Kind of ironic thinking back to the 90s with Seinfeld.
How so?
Didn't they build a whole New York street backlot in Los Angeles to keep filming there?
Ah, yeah, that's right. That was all about keeping it local. Now the economics are pushing things the other way, pulling productions out because of incentives elsewhere. Quite the shift.
Okay, so adding to the complexity, this threat of tariffs from former President Trump, what was that about?
Right. So he proposed a 100% tariff on all foreign movies coming into the U.S.
100%. So basically doubling the cost.
Essentially, yeah. The stated reasons were things like countering unfair foreign incentives and national security concerns about messaging or propaganda in films.
Wow, that must have caused some waves.
Oh, big time. It sent, as one report put it, a spiral of confusion through the whole industry, especially internationally. Experts point out that tariffs on services like film are way more complicated than tariffs on, say, steel or cars. It's a global network.
Is that even legal? Could a president just do that?
That's the big question. The legal authority is murky. People speculate it might rely on something called IEPA, the International Emergency Economic Powers Act.
Okay.
It gives the president certain powers in national emergencies. It's been used for other tariffs citing national security. Or maybe Section 232, which deals with imports threatening national security, but arguing that films or articles under that law is debatable. Both have legal hurdles.
The impact on films made overseas with U.S. partners would be huge, though.
Absolutely devastating for co-productions. Think about countries like the UK, Australia, New Zealand, places that work closely with Hollywood all the time.
Yeah.
Their unions were immediately worried about massive job losses for their freelance crews if U.S. studios pulled back on filming there. And interestingly, there was even a report that actor Jon Voight suggested a tariff of 120% of whatever incentive money U.S. production got for filming abroad.
Wow. So, okay, you take all this, the strikes, the costs, the location battles, the tariff threats. It sounds like a really tough time to be trying to start a career in Hollywood, this new Hollywood generation.
It really is a major concern. All these factors combined, less production happening locally, maybe smaller writers' rooms because of AI fears, productions leaving the state. It shrinks the opportunities, especially those crucial entry-level jobs.
The traditional ways in seem to be narrowing.
Yeah. But then you have the flip side with AI, this idea that it could actually democratize filmmaking. It's complicated.
It democratized things.
Well, AI tools are getting integrated into everything. Script brainstorming, pre-visualization, like creating storyboards or concepts, visually complex VFX, even talent scouting or management. So the potential is there for AI to lower production costs, maybe offer personalized training or job matching. Tools that could, in theory, help people from different backgrounds, people without traditional connections, get a foothold.
So making the tools cheaper or more accessible could level the playing field a bit.
That's the hope, or the potential upside, giving more people access to resources. But, and it's a big but, it all depends on how it's used. Is it a tool to help human creativity or to replace it?
Which goes back to what the Writers Guild fought for.
Exactly. Their contract win emphasized workers needing control, ensuring AI assists rather than substitutes. And it means everyone in the industry needs to keep learning, keep upskilling with AI to stay relevant.
So thinking about this Hollywood exodus, productions moving away, how does AI fit into that specific picture if people aren't physically on location as much?
Well, AI could definitely play a role there. Facilitating remote collaboration, for instance, helping teams work together even if they're spread out, streamlining workflows.
And virtual production. That seems linked.
Huge link. Virtual production, using those massive LED screens and game engines to create digital sets on a soundstage, could become even more important. AI could potentially make those virtual environments even better, more efficient to create.
So less need to travel to exotic locations if you can build them virtually. Kind of like the Seinfeld backlot, but high tech.
Exactly. It's that same idea, using technology to solve location needs. AI could also optimize budgets, allocate resources better when costs are tight, and help massively in post-production editing, effects, maybe even marketing material generation.
We're already seeing less money spent on trailers and things, right?
Yeah, there are signs of that. Potentially leaner workflows, reduced post-production costs driven partly by these new tools.
Okay, so let's try to wrap our heads around this. We've got this real downturn in Hollywood's on-location work. It's driven by the strike's aftermath, lingering pandemic effects, the big pull of tax incentives drawing productions elsewhere.
The uncertainty over potential tariffs, and this huge evolving role of artificial intelligence weaving through it all.
Right. And it's hitting everyone, top to bottom, not just the stars, but crews, vendors, local businesses. And it makes it particularly tough for anyone new trying to break in.
Absolutely. The impact is incredibly broad, from established players rethinking strategies to the support network feeling the pinch, and newcomers facing serious hurdles.
And while California is trying to respond with its updated tax credit, which might help somewhat, the whole AI question, how that reshapes jobs and the way films are actually made, that's still a huge unknown.
It really is. We're in a moment of major transition. Technology is racing ahead, economic pressures are intense, the industry has to adapt, innovate, figure out new ways of working.
It leaves you wondering, what does the future actually look like? What's the balance going to be between shooting on real locations, using these incredible virtual production stages, and having AI involved in the creative process?
And how does all that change the stories we end up seeing? That's the ultimate question, isn't it? Lots to chew on there.
Definitely. Thanks for breaking all that down with us.
You can find more insights on navigating the entertainment industry and achieving success in Orlando Delbert's work, including his book, Pollyanna's Tear-Soaked Battlefields of Hollywood, a survival guide against the cynicism and the hypocritical, and of course, the Hollywood Unapologetic platform. And always remember, you are the key to your own success. You are the new Hollywood generation.
Be informed, be prepared, and most importantly, be great.
That's it. Be great. Good luck out there.
See you next time.